For this next item, what figure is this? Okay, this figure might be a bit tricky. So now we're down to item 4-6. In item 4-6, we have what type of figure is this? Of course, we know in general it's a prism. But to be specific, name the prism according to the base. What type of prism is this? Can you tell? Yes, the prism that we got is a octagonal prism. How can you tell that that's an octagon? Let's look at the figure closely. Count the sides with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, a polygon with 8 sides is a octagon. Very good. So now we already have an octagon, and now it's our job to solve for the surface area and volume of that octagonal prism. But before that, when it comes to surface area, let's determine how many faces do we need for that octagon. That's right! We need 10 faces. Bakit 10 faces? Ano yung formula? Ang formula ay the number of sides of every polygon plus the two bases that are congruent. Remember, all of these form rectangles. And then there are two bases that are congruent. So in general, we have 10 faces. 10 faces to So now let's work out the surface area and volume of the figure. First, let's work out the surface area. The catch there is we do not know what's the area of an octagon. But look at this. We know in an octagon, we can play the game of two situations. Here's how. Let me show you in just a moment. But before that, let's look at the dimensions of the octagon. You see, we have every side of the octagon, it measures 32 millimeters. And then the height is 8 centimeters. So you need to convert that to 80 millimeters or 8 centimeters, depending on which you like. But I think, as you can see in my solution sheet, I made it 3.2 na lang para maikli. So 3.2 na lang to. Because 1 cm is 10 mm. And 32 mm is 3.2. Just shift the decimal place 1 point to the left. So that's the answer, alright? Now, here's how we solve for the area of the regular octagon. Again, we can play SOHCAHTOA if you want to apply the apothem formula or the apothem rule. But here's another rule that I can make. Okay, so this is the octagon that I drew. So ito yung octagon na ginuhit ko. First, we know that it is a regular octagon. In a regular octagon, di ba you remember the formula that I told you? What is the measure of every angle in a regular octagon? Do you still remember the formula goes like this? Ganito kasi yung formula. Di ba when we go to Microsoft Excel, ito yung formula. It's always n which pertains to the number of sides, 8 minus 2, which gives you 6, di ba? And then this one, asterisk, multiply that by 180. Right? So we get 1080. And then this guy, divide by 8. That's 135. We know in an octagon, we should get 1080 degrees. So if we were to divide it by 8, we know that every angle must be 135 degrees. Yan. So ganito kasi yung mangyayari sa paint namin. Every angle must measure 135 degrees. Let me write it for you. So yan, we have 135 degrees and there are 8 angles that are congruent. So here are 2 ways on how you can do this. If we were to play Pythagorean theorem, pwede pa rin ganito yun. Ganito yung gagawin namin. Kung ganito yung gagawin namin, di ba we draw a line here? Kung ginuhit namin yung line dito, ganito yung mangyayari dito. Okay. So this is exactly what would happen. This forms a trapezoid. Remember this trapezoid here? And then I draw another line here. This forms a rectangle, right? So this one is 90 degrees. This is also 90 degrees. Topper 90 and 90, right? But we know in this angle, it's supposed to be 135 degrees. So therefore, this is, remember this trapezoid, this is 135, right? 135 to, and then 135 again. So how do we solve for the remaining 2 angles which you see here? That is 135, 270, and then 360 minus 270, 90, divide both sides by 2, edi 45. So yun yung sagot, alright? So 45 degrees. And then, you might be asking me what would happen if I were to part this even more. Yes, we formed a 45 or 45, 90 degree triangle. Right? So this 45, this also 45. And then this right angle here means 90. So 90 to, alright? So that's one formula that we can do. We can solve for the area of a regular hexagon by doing the sum of the area of the two trapezoids which are congruent plus the area of the rectangle. Yes. So now that's how we're gonna do the area of the octagon. So we know that the measure is 3.2 cm. That's the hypotenuse. So 3.2 cm ay ito, di ba? Decimal point. Okay? So 3.2 cm. Although hindi siya nakikita mo yung sulat. 3.2, di ba? And then, remember, for 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, na mo yung relationship, the hypotenuse will always be the two. Di ba, remember, these have the same measure. And then this one's divided by the square root of 2. So therefore, ganito yung nangyari. It's 3.2 divided by the square root of 2. Multiply both sides by the square root of 2. Let me show you what I did in Excel na lang. So here's how I did my solution sheet in Microsoft Excel, alright? So ganito yung solution sheet ko. We know we played Pythagorean theorem. That's called octagon workout. So, di ba remember ito yung mga bases namin? Ito yung bases. Tapos, ito yung, remember these represent the two legs. Although there's already answer to show you na the answer. But I'll show you how we got the answer first. So, we know that this is the hypotenuse, right? The hypotenuse is 3.2. So, 3.2, remember we take the square, we square it, we should get 10.24. Now, what we did here was, ang ginawa ko ay ganito. Remember this one? Ito yun. We need to do 3.2 divided by the square root of 2. So, ganito yun. Actually, there's also another thing that I did here. I do not know why I got 1.6 times the square root of 2. But yet, it's still correct. Kasi po, let's see if we still get 2.26. But we know, sir, we're still supposed to get 2.26 too. So, ganito yun. We get this. Divide by, if you type SQRT, you're gonna take the square root of a certain number. So when we divide by the square root of 2, tama, we should get that answer of 2.26. So that's the answer that we're looking for. Then we square it, we should get this one. Alright? Then take the square root of this number, we should get still the same. So therefore, the measure of the two legs is 2.26. Now going back to our diagram. So, ito yung diagram namin. So, we know that this is 2.26. Yan. 2.26 to. But do you think it will also affect the other side din? Yes, it does. 2.26. Now, we have a bit of a problem. How do we get the center part? Oh, that's easy. Diba remember, this is 3.2. So, 3.2, 3.2. So, 3.2 plus the 2.26. So, ganito kasi yun. We put it down, and then we sum this one up. So therefore, if you want to get the measure of the long base, remember the short base of the trapezoid is 3.2, right? And then the height is 2.26. That is if I were to round it off. And then remember, this one, for this long line here, it's the summation of 2.26 plus 3.2 plus another 2.26. So what answer did we get? Ganito kasi nangyari. First, let's get the area. So diba remember ito yung area na kinuha namin? So this one, what I did, sinam ko yung dalawang bases. So that's 3. Gets ko na. I think I remember what I did here. This one pertains to the sum of all the, the measures that I got. Because if I remember, if you look at the right triangle that I did a while ago, ito yung summation ng lahat. The summation of all the measurements. And you should get 7.725. Then what I did muna during that time, I summed the two. Sinam ko yung dalawa. Because you need to solve for the area of a trapezoid, you have to sum the two bases. Once you're done summing the two bases, you have to multiply it by the height, which is 2.2627. And then last but not least, your answer should be divide by 2. And you should get 12.36. Kaya lang, because remember, the two trapezoids are congruent, so therefore, ang gawin mo na lang, i-multiply mo by 2. So you just multiply that by 2. Teka, bakit ganito yung... Never mind. Gets ko na. Maybe siguro what you call this. Kasi mo dapat we're supposed to multiply it by 2. Bakit ganito yung sagot ko? Sige, try ko ulit. Let me see if I can get this one right. So I click this one and then multiply by 2. Do you think you will still get 24? Yes, we still did. Kaya yun yung sagot ng dalawang trapezoids. Now, the last but not least that you see right over here is the rectangle. Ito yung rectangle na tinutukoy ko. To solve for the area of the rectangle, madali lang yan. Base times height. Remember, or length times width. This is the length, this is the width. We know that the width is 3.2. And the length is is the summation of this, right? So going back to our formula here, ito yung rectangle. Gets ko na. So parang actually, sinam ko yung dalawang rectangle. So what I did here, nag-product ko yung dalawa. Product ko yung dalawa. It's AR 350 times this one. So that's what I did. Tama. Diba? This is the length of the this is the width of the rectangle. Tapos ito yung length. Tapos ito yung kinuha ko. Then what I did afterwards, ito yun. Sinam ko yung tatlo. Once I summed everything up, we should get 49.44309,376. So that must be the area of one hexagon. Octagon. Now, if you were asking me about SOHCAHTOA method, please watch part 2 of this. Thank you.